Stephen King's writing routine and daily word count has helped him publish over 65 novels and 200 short stories over the past 50 years of his writing career. And if we are going to kick off a literary renaissance, writers like you are going to have to start taking your writing routine, your writing habits more seriously. And of course, you shouldn't throw yourself into misalignment or follow someone's writing routine blindly if it's not serving what you are trying to get done. But in general, looking at what other authors are doing helps you see what it takes to become a professional. Because Stephen King, found success with Carrie in his 20s, but he had been writing for 15, 16, 17 years before that, since he was a child. He was consuming books. His mind was focused on becoming a writer. And so one could say that King had been a professional writer for at least a decade before he found any success. And when you look at a lot of Stephen King's later novels, the stuff that's come out even in the last 30 years, a lot of it hasn't been very good. But I think that has had more to do with his fame, age, and recent interest in politics than anything else, because any one of those three things have killed writers' careers in the past. And today we are going to hear King talk at length about his writing routine, because here on Write Conscious, I am trying to kick off a literary renaissance. I am trying to help authors like you gain the confidence to improve your writing and then transcend the fake mythology us writers hold on to that we can't talk about our work, that we have to be these introverted individuals that can't say that we are good writers, that can't talk about our work. Because if your writing is actually good, it can transform the world. And so, enough from me. Let us now hear from King. Still, I believe the first draft of a book, even a long one, should take no more than 3 months, the length of a season. Any longer, and for me, at least, the story begins to take on an odd foreign feel, like a dispatch from the Romanian Department of Public Affairs, or something broad, cast on high-band shortwave during a period of severe sunspot activity. I like to get 10 pages a day, which amounts to 2,000 words. That's 180,000 words over a 3-month span, the goodish length for a book. Something in which the reader can get happily lost if the tale is done well and stays fresh. On some days, those 10 pages come easily. I'm up and out doing errands by 11:30 in the morning, perky as a rat in a liverwurst. More frequently, as I grow older, I find myself eating lunch at my desk and finishing the day's work around 1:30 in the afternoon. Sometimes when the words come hard, I'm still fiddling around at tea time. Either way is fine with me, but only under dire circumstances do I allow myself to shut down before I get my 2,000 words. And this is really good advice, because I think that the main killer of a lot of beautiful writing dreams and a lot of novels is people taking way too long on their first draft. King says 3 months, but there is no reason at all that your first draft should take you longer than 6 months. If you do not have your first draft done, if it's taken you 5 years and you're still fiddling with it, then you just have probably no desire to actually be a writer. Because there are things like National Novel Writing Month, and I am a high school English teacher, and every single year I run a creative writing club, and I have gotten over the last 5 or 6 years around 150 kids to finish a novel in a month, a first draft of one. We're talking about kids from 7th grade to 12th grade. And so it's not some impossible feat unless you are overthinking everything. And King talks about how over the course of 3 months, he produces around 180,000 words for one of these novels. And I think that's a smart strategy if you're going to be writing a first draft, is to overwrite it a ton, because you could get everything down, just do a massive brain dump, and then you can cut a lot of the stuff, because it's a lot easier to cut your novel than to be adding stuff in later, because it's basically like you were restarting with the first draft. If you were on draft 5 and you need to add 10,000 words more of writing, you have to go start back at ground zero. And then even worse, almost trying to mimic the feeling that you had during the initial first draft, which this may be 3 years down the road, and you could be totally divorced from that original feeling, from that original momentum. And so I think that I can say with confidence that if you are trying to be a fiction author or even a nonfiction author in the world right now, 1,000 words a day is very easy. And if you are, and we're talking about a first draft here, if you cannot accomplish 1,000 words a day for a first draft, then like I said, you are either revising while you are thinking or you are overthinking it. You are not allowing your imagination to come forth, or you are just the worst typer in the world and you have to go do like some typing training. And if you are a poet, I think that you should be writing one poem a day. I write a crappy poem almost every single day, and most of them go into the trash, go into some folder. They don't really have any significance, but just the routine, just the practice of it eventually lets me produce, if I write 365 poems a year, a couple dozen good poems. And King also mentions that only under dire circumstances, he doesn't allow himself to stop before 2,000 words. And the number one thing that you need to be doing if you aren't an author that has an audience yet, that is a full-time author, is treating yourself like you are a full-time author, that you are Stephen King, that you've already made millions. And as a professional, you don't stop. You don't stop your workout early. Like, do you think guys in the NFL or who are training for the highest level athletic events in the world stop their workout early or don't show up to the workout at all just because they're having a family problem or they're tired or they're sick or their husband or wife are mad at them? No, they do it anyway. And that's why a lot of those people, including writers, suffer from high divorce rates and have a ton of problems. But how bad do you really want this? And at least half of you guys out there don't have control over your own schedule. And I won't even include your job. You've hired a boss and someone to tell you what to do, but we'll leave them out of it. But just your other obligations to your family, to this. And in actuality, it's your fault because you could have found a partner, a group of friends, or raised your kids in a certain way that would allow you to have the time to do your writing every single day. You could sacrifice some time and money and pleasure to eat better, to live a healthier lifestyle, to work out. So when you can write, you have more energy and feel more refreshed. You could give up Netflix and social media and all these other things to become a better writer, to have more time to do it. And controlling your own schedule means that you actually plan leisure time. You plan time to spend on social media. You plan time to do this. And if this sounds regimented, well, this is what you're going to have to do if you are working 40 hours a week. You don't have the ability, like King does, to just wake up and write every single day, and that's your job. And everyone knows because of that, you're going to make millions of dollars. Because I have someone who comments, and he works at a gas station, and he was working at a job that paid pretty well. He was like an accountant or something, and he decided to work a night shift at a gas station so he could write the entire night. And his wife is pissed. Their savings are running out. All the stuff is going on. And it's hard because if you were like to your wife, hey, I'm going to spend 5 hours writing this book, but every single morning, and even no matter what, if you're upset with me or something's going on, I still got to do this. If we need something, if the baby needs something, you're taking care of it. But at the end of all that, I'm going to get $2 million. And it's going to take me like 6 months. They'd be like, oh, sure, no problem. Do whatever you need to do. But, and the same goes for a husband. If a wife was writing, like, yeah, no worries. You don't have to do anything. I'm not gonna leave you alone at all. But when the rewards don't seem present, when it seems very far away, then people view you as someone that they can walk over. And that's what a lot of you guys are experiencing right now, that people are not taking you seriously. And so the thing that you need to do is start taking yourself seriously. Start setting quotas, start setting routines, start even imagining yourself, like even doing weird visualization and woo type stuff to present the energy and the image of someone who's trying to be a professional writer. And to do that, you have to take steps towards sacrifice. You have to give up certain things to signal that you are serious to other people if you are in a situation where you're not totally isolated or where you aren't totally isolated. Because if you are working 8 hours a day and sleeping 7 hours a night, that's only 96 hours per week. What are you doing with the other 70 hours in the week? And I would say that you could easily get 1,000 words of a first draft done in 2 hours a day, and probably way more, no matter what speed that you're working at. And so if you were having trouble finding the motivation and the time to get 2 hours a day in consistently, then I would question if you really want to be a writer, or this is just something that you think that you should do because you have nothing else going for you and you think that like this is the closest thing I have to a purpose. And at that point, I would maybe ask you to really dive into spirituality or relationships or actually the living a life and find a purpose beyond just art. Because people whose entire purpose is just writing, are jokes to me. And I talk about all the time about creating this literary renaissance. And it would be great if we had a bunch of optimized people, Andrew Huberman style, that are doing everything perfectly and belting out one beautiful literary book every single year and promoting it and doing all the things. But those people would write hollow and empty things. We need real people in this movement. We need to set realistic standards so it can actually work, because there are a lot of talented people out there who are very busy because they are very smart and are living life and actually not like an internet addict who wants to be a writer and has nothing else going on and they're living with their parents, which is fine for a phase of your life, like whatever, use that time wisely. But there are other people that, finding that 2 hours would be very hard. But if they did find that, the results could be monstrous. And this is something that I've started to do. Is I don't know what this goal setting strategy is called, but I set a goal every single day. I say, I'm going to film 2 videos, or I'm going to, and I have this routine, and I don't go to sleep until it's done, no matter what happens. I've been sick. I've had family crises. I've had migraines, and I still show up and get it done. That's why it's so funny. Some of my best performing videos have been when I'm at my worst and I'm stumbling through the words, I can't read the quote. And then people comment, they're like, this was shit. And I was like, I know, I was there. I felt terrible, but I'm going to get this done every single day because this is what I need to do. Same with my writing. There are drawers, folders filled with the worst poems you guys could ever imagine, like Rupi Kaur style, where I'm just sitting there tired. I'm like, I'm just going to write about the color red. And I'm just, writing about red for 30 minutes because I have no brain power to do anything else. But what's funny about that is that's something I actually do sometimes, is I just write poems about colors, or just implement them, just write empty lines, but just include a lot of colors in it, just to kind of warm up the sensory mind. But recently I was editing one of the poems for my poetry book that I'm hopefully releasing this year. And I was like, I need some red in this. This needs some color. This contrast will go well here. And I was trying to figure out how to get it in there because it came to me intuitively and I didn't like what I wrote in the first draft. And so I went to this folder and I had at least 40 poems where I was just using the color red, and I just stole a bunch of lines, and then boom. And so set a daily standard for yourself. If you can't get it done in the morning like King, that's fine. But whenever, wherever, get it done. And when you do that, it will be easier to give up Netflix. It will be easier to cook faster or do these things and find the time required to get it done. And so I love each and every one of you guys. You guys are all with me for this literary renaissance. I believe in you. If you want to join my free writing school or get my free guide to Stephen King's best novels and I think the 150 books that influenced him, you can check that out down below, and I will see you guys very soon.